Michigan's short track racing authority is Horsepower Happenings.
Charlie Bauer, welcome into Horsepower Happenings.
Scotty Thiel, welcome to Horsepower Happenings.
John Beach, welcome into Horsepower Happenings.
Adam Terry, welcome into Horsepower Happenings.
Paul Pelletier.
Corbin Hazlett, Riley Knoll.
Matt Kemp, Dylan Stovall, welcome into Horsepower Happenings.
From pavement to dirt, modifieds to sprint cars, hear from drivers, promoters, track owners, and many other industry leaders.
We worked on that car for 12 days straight, and when I got to the Speedway Saturday, I was out of gas. I had to take a nap.
You're out there and, you know, that groove, if you're outside of it, you could be a couple tenths off or even half a second off.
It is not the shock that you've won all these races. You know, I mean, there's so many pieces to the puzzle to make these cars go fast.
I don't care what he says. I saw a thing on Facebook on somebody's post that's now been deleted that one of his crew guys said that the spotter told him car low and I wrecked him.
With over 50 years of experience from racing to management, here are Zach Heiser and Rich
Good
France.
evening, race fans, and welcome in to another episode of Horsepower Happenings, the best motorsports basketball national preview show you're going to find. Completely, though, completely non-biased if we talk about any basketball tonight. Good evening. Here's what's happening in a Mark News Minute in the world of NASCAR. Cup Series was off this weekend for the Easter holiday, but William Sawalich, friend of the program, took home the win from Rockingham Speedway in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series on Saturday. Corey Heim, wow, this guy is good in a truck. Outduels Caden Honeycutt in a dramatic finish for another win in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. And Tristan McKee grabbed the win in the ARCA Menards East Series, all from Rockingham over the weekend. Justin Grant found victory lane Friday from Red Hill Raceway in Sumner, Illinois with the USAC AMSOIL National Sprint Car Series. Grant rolled off from the 5th spot in the feature to find victory lane. And, of course, Saturday's activities were rained out for the USAC National Sprint Car Series. And with it being Easter weekend, that's pretty much it. That's what's happening in a Mark News Minute. Good evening. Welcome in. I'm Zach Heiser. Rich France joins me from across the way. How's it going, sir?
Ready for tonight, man.
Hail to the
ready
victor.
for tonight.
Yep.
Busy week. Cool week, though. So I did find out just a couple of hours ago that I will be at a racetrack with race cars on it this weekend. So
This weekend?
in Michigan.
Where are you headed, my friend?
So I got a phone call or a little text from the boss, Brandon Hamby, and apparently the bar is really low because they need somebody on the flag stand for Test and Tune Day on Saturday.
Oh, cool.
So
twirl the sticks, huh?
Yep. So I get to twirl the sticks on Saturday for about 4 hours for the Outlaws, Figure Eights, anybody else, Street Stocks, anybody else who shows up.
Cool.
So,
Good.
And then, we just wrapped up. There was just startups. That's going to be the end of a busy week because we just had some fun on Saturday at the Owasso Speedway for the Michigan Auto Racing Fan Club kickoff party. That was a good time. And I think afterwards we can say, where the heck did all those kids come from, Zach?
Yeah, I got to say, first and foremost, apologize because, the marknews.org Easter egg hunt was my responsibility. It was my idea, and we were trying to make things happen and had no idea what the turnout was going to be like being the first one and with the rain. And because of the rain, the ideas that we had and the ways that we were planning on doing things had to be adjusted. So it was a bit of a... Well, as my dad and I and Barry and we all say, everything's got to be a production. And so it was a bit of a production, but I want to say thank you to you, Rich, Al Lardy, my wife, Becca, my sister-in-law, Emily, my brother-in-law, Doug. Let me see here. The Fitzpatricks stepped in and helped and just made sure that this went off as best as we could with the rain and with the situation that we were put in. So, and
the rain wasn't the hardest thing about it. I think we were sitting there the event was supposed to kick off about 12:30, about 10 to 12. There was nobody there but the fan club and us. And we were like, how many people are going to be here?
And then about 5 to 12.
But they all came in at the same time.
Yeah. So it was good. And again, appreciate everybody's patience. And it looked like the kids at least had fun. I could see, and even Becca, right? We're parents too. We could see there was some frustration from the parents, but the kids had fun. Everybody should have walked away with something. And so that was the fun part. But, Rich, so we had the Michigan Area Racing Connection, the marknews.org Easter egg hunt, which was kind of the precursor to a really exciting day and kind of a big day for the Michigan Auto Racing Fan Club.
Yeah, we had some drivers out there that sat down. We had a group of modified drivers, Nick Lakota, who doesn't quite have a modified motor yet, but he was there. He's going to start the season in his street stock. Dave McManus, Mr. Championship around here between Birch Run and Owasso. And then Kyle Smith was there with his race car, unloaded it actually. And man, that number 8 was a pretty machine, wasn't it? That thing was sharp looking.
It looked good. Chad Colley was there with his Great Lakes Lightning Sprint. We had the Great Lakes Super Sprint McAllister Cat show car there. April T. I just know I'll screw up her name. From Owasso Motorsports Park was there with her go-kart, and the Jernigans were there. I'm trying to think here. Was that everybody? I think that's everybody.
Well, we had a couple more drivers. We had Jimmy Tucker and Jimmy Tucker and Justin Schroeder showed up for the CRA the Turn 1 Pro Series.
Good job.
They're both going to be kicking their season off here in just inside of a couple weeks at Toledo Speedway on April 18th.
Yep. So we had those folks there, and it was a really good time. And Rich, big day as the Michigan Auto Racing Fan Club elected some new board members and elected a new president while they were there for the meeting.
Yeah, so Gary Engel is going to take over for John Jackson. I think that was the official coming out party and the announcement. They have bylaws they have to go by. So,
right.
John Jackson kind of buzzed through them in a hurry. So he kind of did it in quick mode, but everybody's coming back. They had myself included. So I'm going to be back for 2026 as part of the board. And then Darcy and Elaine, they're going to be a couple new board members that are going to join us this year. So we got a couple other people to it's a lot of when you have 20.
Price, it looks like too. John Price was added as well. It sounds like.
Yep. John Price but he couldn't make it. He got stuck at work.
Okay.
So he said he was in, so that they kind of did a little quick thing. Okay. Yes, I accept that kind of. John did it for him. But it was cool. We had 23 Michigan Auto Racing Fan Club nights this year at various racetracks. So you need bodies to occupy those racetracks on race night. So little more help is greatly appreciated.
Absolutely. All right, big weekend, Rich. It's not very often that you see new tracks or new series get started, but this weekend, the Gladiator Sprint Tour, which is the brainchild of the organization from Fast on Dirt, Aaron Fry and his crew, launched a new economy series for 410 sprint car racing, and this is the Gladiator Sprint Tour. They had one race at the end of last year at Atomic to see how it would go, and now they've got a multi-race schedule here for 2026, and they kicked off the 2026 season on Saturday night down at Tyler County Speedway in West Virginia, and it was a good show, Rich. We had it on GreatLakesSprints.tv, and it was a really good show. This is another one of those shows where sometimes quality is better than quantity. A little over a dozen cars on the property, but the battle at the front, 3 cars put on a great show. And before we go over the results, I pause to say, I think it's great that there's another organization just trying to keep sprint car racing going around here.
Yeah. And when they weren't going to get anything going around here this early. I mean, you can just talk to Attica Raceway Park about that. It just hasn't happened.
People hear West Virginia and they say, "What do you mean around here?" Well, obviously, this Gladiator Tour is going to be based out of Ohio.
Right.
So they branched out a little bit to get the show in, just right over the state line.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing we had the last couple of weeks, Atomic, I think, got their Lucas Oil show in.
Yeah. In Brownstown.
In Brownstown. So that was about as close as it was going to get, because you started to get anywhere north of Columbus, and it just wasn't race weather yet. We just haven't had that break. But this weekend doesn't look so bad. So I think Attica might be in pretty good shape this weekend.
We'll talk about that coming up in a little bit. Corey Crabtree, by the way, won that race over Jacob Benjenwald and Carmen Perigo. Mike Keegan, Danny Smith made the trip down there. Mike Keegan with a top 5 finish. So good job for the Fremont, Ohio native to find victory lane. Speaking of branching out and going to racetracks, how about Mike Vandermark Jr., the driver out of Michigan? He went down to Moeller Raceway Park, another show with not a ton of race cars, but a really good product on the racetrack. And Mike Mahler survived kind of a rough and tumble racetrack, got in a little bit of an on-track scrap with some of the drivers around. Not too bad, but you could tell they were leaning on each other, a little tire mark here and there. And MVJ goes to victory lane on Friday night. down at Moeller. So congratulations to him.
Yeah,
It's about time for you to have to put your weekend winners list together again, sir.
we're almost getting there. And I was going to say it wasn't Mike Marlar, it was Mike Vandermark Jr.
Oh, did I say Mike Marlar? I'm sorry. Mike,
yeah.
MVJ, Mike Vandermark.
Yeah, there you go. No, he loves traveling, doesn't he?
And Moeller.
Yeah.
You can see how I did that. Go ahead.
Yep. No, I mean, Mike, Mike's a friend of ours, had him on the show multiple times. And, man, he loves getting out of Michigan and going racing, and he's competitive wherever he goes. So that's an awesome deal.
Yep, and I understand too. That's a brand new race car that they took down there to break in. So you love that, right? When you can take a brand new car out on the road and go to victory lane, that's good. That's a good thing. Mid-Michigan Raceway Park announced their 2026 schedule of events last week, Rich, and nothing too earth-shattering. Okay, Mid-Michigan Raceway Park's been doing the same thing for a long time. They're going to have the Michigan late models, if you will, modifieds, pro stocks and trucks, street stocks, 4-cylinders, and mini wedges. And let's keep it simple for you, okay? They're going to race every Friday night, May 1st through September 4th, except July 17th. So if you go to Mid-Michigan, mark that one off on your calendar. No racing on July 17th. Gates open at 5, hot laps at 6:30, racing at 8 p.m. There's what you need to know for the regular season. And then the 28th annual Corn Harvest, Rich. You and I need to get out there September 24th through the 26th. I've raced at this 2-day event. I've partied at this 2-day event. I was not old enough to drink at this 2-day event, so maybe some Diet Pepsis and some roasted corn and some dinner and some race cars are in our future. Who knows?
Well, the only thing is I know that there's tentatively right now we have a conflict.
See, I don't have the calendar open, so I'll take your word for it. Is there a CRA show that weekend?
Owasso Fall Nationals, right?
Oh, yeah, that'll do it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, is that Clash weekend as well? Kalamazoo or Call?
I don't.
Did it fall?
I don't think so. Maybe the follow. Oh no, you mean the Super Shoe?
Super Shoe, yes.
I don't know if it's that weekend or the weekend after.
Okay.
Usually it's the first weekend of October. Just depending how it falls. Sometime it falls into the last week of September, but I think Super Shoe is probably a week after that.
Okay, we'll have to take a look at that because I recall hearing on social media there was some rumblings about when the Owasso Nationals were and when Super Shoe was. So we'll have to look at that. Speaking of CRA and the Owasso Nationals, Rich, more and more drivers, we talked about this Saturday at the fan club banquet, or at the fan club kickoff party, more and more drivers signing up to be a part of the Turn 1 CRA Pro Series. Obviously, we're going to talk to Miss Grigsby coming up in just a moment. She's one of our featured guests this weekend. But Blake Rowe and Sam Johnson also have voiced their intentions to be on the tour. I want to break each of these down real quick. Blake Rowe, of course, championship contender with the CRA Pro Series back when it was the JEG CRA All-Stars Tour, and didn't see him full-time last year. Going to come back and run the full schedule this year, Rich. I think that is, of course, exciting. Blake Rowe, a friend of the program, and a really good car and driver that's going to compete for a championship full-time.
Yeah, and I think Blake knows himself, and we know it. Blake has never gone to a racetrack and been slow, right? Or been. It's, can he get through 100 laps with, showing a little bit of patience when you need to show patience? I mean, pro's going to pro, right? But
that is the case normally.
Yep, and when they decide to pro, he usually ends up around it somewhere, and then he has to work and then he goes to the back and drives right through the field, so he's got a good race car,
right?
And I think he's could have been battling for a championship, especially with Billy Van Meter, if he didn't have a couple incidents throughout the year where he did have to go to the tail and make up so many spots, and when it's that tight, it's hard to make them up, right? So. I think I think Blake's going to be fine. He's not going to have a lack of competition. Obviously, we learned last week Chase Pinsino. He's going to be strong, and for all intents and purposes, those guys run out of the same household, right? So we'll have to see. But we're getting up close to 10, and like you said on Saturday at Owasso Speedway, Zach, if we get up to 10 or 12 cars, and then you get the odd ones floating in, you're looking at a full field at every single event if you get everybody showing up, including the platinum drivers. So it's awfully optimistic just a couple weeks before race number 1.
Here's the information that we're privileged to through Horsepower Happenings, okay? Signed, paid, on the books, okay, as full-time drivers this year for CRA. Will Sahutsky, Kevin Cremonesi, Jimmy Tucker, Billy Van Meter, Sam Johnson, Albert Francis, Chase Pinsino, Blake Rowe, Gabrielle Grigsby, and Chris Shannon. There's 10 right there. And we understand that there's another 4 out for consideration right now who are considering being full-time.
I think that's the best thing about it is, you're not going to have to struggle. It doesn't look like you're going to have to struggle and make phone calls to try to get guys to come out to show. You're going to have, and those guys put on a big show. You get 20, be anywhere between 20 and 30 cars, and it's a good show.
Absolutely.
For the Turn 1 CRA Pro Series. We've seen it. We've seen a little bit over 30, and they put on a good show.
Yeah.
So,
and I think too, Sam Johnson, I think is going to be able to run for Rookie of the Year. Don't quote me on that, but I think he will be able to. Only a couple starts last year, a few select starts. So this will be a full-time season for him. You know what? He might not be eligible because he ran Berlin as well. But this is going to be a full touring season for him, which will be the first time that he's ever done that. The young driver out of Northern Indiana, going to Purdue University. So, of course, who do we know that went to Purdue and became a pretty darn good race car driver? Of course, Ryan Newman. So that's pretty cool. All right, we got to take a break. Speaking of CRA, we are going to talk to one of those drivers who's on the platinum list for being full-time in 2026. She's from Northwest Ohio. Rich knows her well from her days at Toledo. Gabrielle Grigsby is coming up next on the Horsepower Happenings podcast.
The Horsepower Happenings podcast is Michigan's short track racing authority. For nearly a decade, Horsepower Happenings has given race fans a chance to hear directly from their favorite drivers, local track owners, and promoters. Horsepower Happenings is the only podcast keeping fans engaged with Michigan area racing for 52 weeks a year. Don't miss the Horsepower Happenings podcast live on Facebook every Monday night at 6:30 and available everywhere you enjoy podcasts. Visit horsepowerhappenings.com and follow on Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube.
It's the season opener for the Great Lakes Super Sprints presented by Perfit and ARP. North versus South, 2 days, 2 sanctions, Friday and Saturday, April 10th and 11th, I-75 Raceway in Sweetwater, Tennessee. Will one of the North's standouts from the Great Lakes Super Sprints get the job done, or will the USCS sprint cars be rolling in hot from their Winter Heat Series? Find out on Friday and Saturday, April 10th and 11th at I-75 Raceway in Sweetwater, Tennessee. Can't make the trip? Get your subscription to Great Lakes Sprints.tv today.
Think your camper handled the winter just fine? Think again. Every time the temperature fluctuates, drop moisture freezes and expands, turning tiny hairline cracks into major pathways for water. That freeze-thaw cycle is a silent killer for RV seals. If you haven't had a professional roof and exterior sealant inspection this spring, you're likely towing a leak you can't see yet. Midwest Camper Repair specializes in catching that winter damage before it reaches your interior. We're mobile and we check it all from the roof to the floor. Don't let a winter crack ruin your summer fun. Call Midwest Camper Repair today and start the season sealed tight. Call 419-799-1171. That's 419-799-1171. Or visit MidwestCamperRepair.com. Serving the tri-state area from the roof to the floor, Midwest Camper Repair has you covered.
This place completely fills up for the little 500 people from all over.
Here comes Jake Trader at number 29. How about that? He will be the bridesmaid no more. Bobby Santos is going to pick up the win.
Oh, trouble already. Wow. Trouble over at turn 4. 2 to go. Cody Swanson is there.
Here goes Roaring. Back-to-back champion. Tyler Roaring wins.
I guess night out sprint car guy.
Welcome back to the Horsepower Happenings podcast. It's our pleasure now to welcome in our first guest. She's from Northwest Ohio. She goes to Northwestern University. Oh my gosh, let me see here. University of Northwestern Ohio. I had to spell out the acronym. Gabrielle Grigsby, welcome in.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, and we were talking right before the break that there's several teams and several drivers who are committing to a full schedule this year with the Turn 1 CRA Pro Series, and of course, you made some starts with them last year, ASA Stars National Tour last year, and now I on this full 10-race schedule, 12-race schedule with CRA and the Pro Late Model. Talk about that decision.
So we decided to go more towards the CRA this year as most of the races are more closer to home. With being a small team that we are, we don't have, a whole bunch of people to help us out, unfortunately, but just with the traveling and stuff, we've seen that all the races are closer to Ohio, Michigan, with some out of state, but I mean, that's something that we could definitely handle now. And then we decided to also add in a couple of the ASA races at the end of the year, including Toledo, Winchester, all those big hits, just to have, the fast car, I guess.
Sure.
So, yeah.
So what is the what did you guys learn from your time on the road with ASA? I mean, obviously, even like guys like Kyle Crump and Blake Rowe talk about how much different the pace is. What sort of takeaways did you guys have in your team?
So it was definitely a big adjustment, because my grandpa and my dad, they both raced. It was hometown racing at Toledo and Flat Rock. And that's how I started out racing, was at Toledo and Flat Rock. So, Friday nights, that's about it. You get the car ready again and it's all over again. But transitioning from hometown racing to traveling the country racing, it's a lot faster pace. Setup changes every time. So, it was definitely, you got to get ready sooner to be able to get there. And then as soon as you get to the track, everything is so much quicker. Like, you have tech, you have driver meetings and such. So it's definitely a lot different of a pace.
Let's talk a little bit, just in case we've known each other a while, right? Since you first got in a race car, right? And, so you're just not, I'm just going to follow in dad's footsteps and I'm just going to jump in a race car. You've made this your life now, because you not only went to Uno, but you're part of their traveling motorsports team, and you travel with them to different dirt races. And kind of talk about that and what you do on the road with Uno.
So, also including that, when I was finally like, okay, I'm going to go to college, I want to go to college, I saw, the race car school. Everybody talks about it. I seen them come to my high school and talk about it. I was like, okay, that's something I want to do. And to learn that they have a race team, what? So when I joined the race team, it's kind of like a interview, like a real job. Our coach brings us in, he talks to us, he interviews us. And thankfully I got accepted. So yay. But from growing up on more of the asphalt side, it was a lot different being there. I mean, everything is opposite of asphalt. You just turn left, but on the dirt, you have to make it, go left while turning right. Like, you know, um, but I mean, traveling with them and then also with traveling at home, it was a lot of work, like a lot of work. And we're actually getting ready down at Uno for the season coming up at Lima Land. So, a lot, I mean, I don't know how to put it in easier terms, I guess. It's just, you gotta be there.
So when you started in the factory stocks at Flat Rock and Toledo, and that's getting your feet wet, just driving a big car, right?
Mhm.
Then when you got in a sportsman car, you did it Toledo, right? And how did that help you a little bit for you when you went out on the road with ASA and with what you're going to do with CRA? Because there aren't too many more tracks that are more difficult than Toledo Speedway.
So, and I've heard that before, that there isn't that many tracks like Toledo Speedway out there. Was starting out in the factory stocks, that was the first car I ever drove. I didn't start out in go-karts like everybody else. I didn't start out in quarter midgets. We just kind of, hopped into the big car, and built that from the ground up. So that kind of, got me set on pace. It was a little bit smaller than the half mile. But then once I did 2 seasons of that, my dad was like, you know what? Let's put you in the sportsman. Let's see how you do. And I double dutied the factory stock and the sportsman. Um, but being able to have a full season out in the sportsman from traveling Toledo and Flat Rock, I'm sorry, I kind of put those two together because, they're
They
sister
are.
tracks. Um, but being able to practice per se, I guess you could say, in that sportsman, it's the same as, the CRA cars, but so much different at the same time. It's a full chassis. I guess, the control arms and all that stuff is the same. I'm kind of like going too much into detail on it, but I don't know. I would say it put me in place with the bigger motors and things like that. Mm, I don't know how the best way to put it again. I'm sorry. I would just say, hmm, I mean, it kind of got me ready for the big cars and racing with, people that are more into it. And yeah, I mean, I don't really know where I'm gonna go with that. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
well, and it just what my question was going to be about that is it's such a big commitment to go on the road with ASA like right out of the gate. You know, like you go from doing local stuff at Toledo and Flat Rock, like you said, to ASA Stars National Tour, and there's a learning curve there, but not a bad season really. I mean, yeah, that first race at Newport, forgettable. Second race have a mechanical failure. You know, that's what it is. But man, by the time you get to Toledo, top 12 finish in the Glass City, which you run all the laps, right? You stayed out there, you took the checkered flag and come home with a top 12 finish. Like that's impressive, right? Even in your first try.
I appreciate you saying that. Last year sucked to say the least. Like we had every single bug that you could think of in the car. It was a brand new car to us. Everything from suspension breaking to some motor failure at a point. We did not catch a break. Even at Toledo, I had a mechanical failure. My clutch was going out. So on the straightaways, I don't know, like people in the stands said that, yeah, it sounded like it was hitting the chip at some points. I'm like, yeah, because I could barely hold on, but here we are. But I was like, I'm at my home track. I'm not gonna pull off. I'm not gonna let that be the end of it. I wanted to finish that race, and I'm happy I stayed out. It's kind of like that hometown feeling, I guess you could say.
How did you deal with those struggles? Because when you're having mechanical issues and you're on the road going to these places that you've never been to before, like there's so much going on, it compounds when you're not having good finishes either, and people are looking at the results, and then they're going, okay, what's going on with a 7-Eleven car? What are we going to expect out of her? And things like that. Like, how do you deal with that, right? Because obviously there had to have been a little bit of noise around that when you're on the road like you were.
So, I mean, obviously, never everybody doesn't see what's going on behind the scenes, like you said. They only look at the finishing results, starting results. And honestly, I kind of just blocked it out. I was like, they don't understand what's happening behind the scenes. I wish I could show it more, but I'm too busy working on the car, you
Mhm.
know? And then going back to like the mechanical failures, if something happened at Toledo per se, our shop was right down the road. We could go pick something up really quick. Unfortunately, on the road, the shop is not down the road. It is like, 5+ hours away.
Right.
So we had a lot of brain power to make something work, like, quickly getting the welder out or something like that just to fix something in time to make it to the race. And then that also goes back to not really having enough help like everybody else does with the ASA, how they hire people in and things like that. Fortunately, we had a couple good buddies of ours help us towards the end of the year to give a couple extra hands. And they really, really helped out a lot because in the beginning of the season, it was just, me, my parents, and my two uncles. So not a lot of people, um, compared to all those other big teams, I guess you could say. Um, so we tried our best. We really, really did. And unfortunately, like I said, it wasn't my favorite, season. I'm just happy that I was able to go out there and be like, yeah, we did it. Um, and I don't fully want to leave it. That's why we're doing the CRA. It's just a little bit easier in our terms and closer to home.
Now, Gabby, I want to just double freight. You guys, that's a Van Dorn car you have, right?
Hmm.
And so was that? I thought it was. I thought I saw a photo a year or two. Was that an old Austin Hull car that he had that you guys
Carson
picked up?
Hosever.
Carson Hosevar's car.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Cool. What's the history of that car? Do you know? Like, was this one of the ones? Like, was this the Winchester 400 car? Do you know what the background is on it?
So it
I'm
went through
putting
a
you on the
couple other.
spot, so it's okay if you don't.
So it went through a couple other people before it came to us,
Okay.
as a car does. It's a 2019 chassis, so it's a bit older, but I like it. It has the newer technology that I like, but it's a little bit older. And we're actually about to get a new chassis soon. It's in the works. But I mean, I know the car flipped. I do know that. I know
Okay.
that car flipped at, I believe,
If you say Owasso,
I think it probably was a
Chris
Wasso. It was
Shannon.
either.
Christian.
Chris Shannon's the only guy I know to flip a Pro Late model. So it
But
had to have been Chris.
I mean, I know that car has been flipped. I talked to Carson Hosefer Racing, the crew chief on that team, and he came over one race. I don't remember what race it was. And he was like, "Oh yeah, this is your car, by the way." So I was like, "Oh,
Sweet.
that's cool." But that's pretty much all I know about it. I just know it was his car in the past, and then I went through a couple other people before it came to us.
All right. Real quick, I want to say thank you to our sponsor for this interview tonight with Gabrielle. It's brought to you by Sweet Manufacturing, owned and operated right here in Michigan. Sweet Manufacturing is your local solution to national level performance. Rack and pinion, steering boxes, pumps, U-joints, sprint car components like wing cylinders, wing valves, and so much more. You can call locally at 269-344-2086, or they're currently offering free shipping on orders over $500 when you shop online at sweetmanufacturing.com. Sweet Manufacturing, let them turn your wheels. Rich?
Yeah, Gabby. So you sign up, you guys make your intention to run the tour. You sign up for the Platinum program. So what were your reasons behind it? Obviously, I'm thinking, man, we can run with these guys. These cars run a lot closer together, which you've been used to over the years, running next to race cars instead of far apart from them. And it should give you a lot of chance to learn and really have an opportunity to show what you can do, right?
I mean, yeah, that's what we were kind of thinking. And, running with the full season, trying to at least, you never know what's going to happen. Like I said, we thought it would be a little bit closer. Everything isn't as wild, I guess you could say, as with the ASA. And then
I don't know if I'd say that.
I mean, yeah. But no, I've noticed the car counts with CRA, and there's a lot of people, that decide to race with them, and people that are also pretty much learning, but there's also the people that have been there for a long time as well. So, just learning, you're learning every day. So, and you're learning every race with everybody. But I mean, like I said, it's kind of, closer, and we keep learning, and we want to keep learning. I mean, we want to get better at this, obviously. So
second year in a touring template late model. What are your expectations? What are you and the team talking about? What are you hoping to accomplish this year?
So we're definitely hoping to finish more races, being more prepared, obviously. And we want to, be more than just the top 20. We want to be in the top 15, top 10, and hopefully, top 5. And, the best thing that you could wish for is, win a race. Because the most wins I've had under my belt is a couple heat race wins. That's nothing much, right? So just that feeling of actually succeeding would be amazing, and that's all that we kind of really want. Like, yeah, you make a checklist. Oh, you did this time, but we could do this better. And we want to get to that top spot.
We talked to, I didn't know if you know Avery Demlin, who ran all of last year with the Turn 1 CRA Pro Series. And we talked to her and with her, it was about learning every single week and just getting better every single week. And, we came up with it. We were talking about, to what was it, to finish first, you must first finish, right. And once she had that figured out and she started learning the car week by week by week, by the end of the season she was running awfully well with it.
Yeah, no, I noticed her. And from her story, how she hasn't been in a car since however long ago, to jumping into a traveling series, I mean, that's pretty crazy, right? I thought it was pretty crazy from going just locally to deciding to go travel, the Midwest. So, no, I get that completely. And I strongly feel the same way about the whole situation too. So, yeah.
Well, I want to ask you some questions from the chat here on our Facebook Live video that we've got going on. Gary Engel, who was just elected to the Michigan Auto Racing Fan Club president position, wants to know what your long-term goals are. So that you're entering your second year in the touring late model. You're obviously going to school at Uno. What are you hoping to do long-term in this industry?
So long term, I've really fallen in love with engine building and fabrication stuff. So if professional race car driver doesn't suit the boat for me, I always have something like that to fall back onto. Um, and just stay around in the sport. I love the sport. I grew up around the sport, so I at least want to stay in the circle somehow, some way, and race on the side.
Engine building, I think, is kind of like becoming a mortician. I feel like there's always going to be work for an engine builder, especially right now. Like, it's getting tough to go out and find, a reliable engine builder that you can trust. What about that process is intriguing to you?
I honestly think the machining part of it is really interesting. Tearing it down, yeah, you kind of see it, putting it together, you have to follow specs, obviously, but the machining is where it's really exciting. I actually just finished my customs class at Uno, and I got to learn how to basically build my own engine in that class. And I helped a good friend of mine on his motor there. And from honing it out to boring everything to resleeving everything, that's what really intrigues me
Yeah.
with it.
What about you mentioned when you're at school, obviously you're working with the team to be ready for Lima Land. Who is preparing your cars throughout the week, or are you trying to get home throughout the week to work on your stuff as well? I mean, how are you splitting time between schooling, which includes preparing a race car for somebody else to drive, and then, oh yeah, by the way, your team that you have to get in, sit behind the wheel that weekend for?
Me. I actually just traveled back down to Lima from home today. Me and a couple friends went up over the weekend to help put the car together. Um, because we're a little bit behind the ball right now. Like we are like inching to Toledo. Um, so we just did a whole bunch of body work this week. We got a whole new front end on the car. Um, So it's basically just me and my dad for the most part, setting up the car throughout the week. So when it gets to times like this, I will be driving back and forth
How
from
far?
school. It's about an hour and 50 minutes each way.
Almost 2 hours.
Yep.
Wow.
So I mean, talk about committed, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
So the way that my life has looked like for the past year is going to class at 7:30 to 12:30, then going to the race team from 1 to 5, and then back home, work on the car, sleep, and repeat. That's how it's been looking so far. Obviously, we get more time during the weekend, but if you can get that time in, get that time in.
So you're getting home at 7-ish, probably closer to 8 by the time you actually get off campus, working
Yep.
on the race car and then driving back to campus?
No, no, no. Well, sometimes I will.
Okay.
Sometimes if it gets to that point. But no, I'll sleep at home and then wake up around 5, get ready, and head back down to school.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Talk about committed, Rich.
Well, yeah, but this is coming up here. We're just inside of 2 weeks with the Turn One CRA Pro
No
Series
reminder, the
opener.
car's not ready.
I don't know, but I'll tell you. I mean, this is her backyard, right? You're going to come out of the gate with a new series, the new to you series, and you're going to do it where you're comfortable. That's got to make you feel better.
A little bit, just a little bit. I'm not going to be in a different place that I really don't have that much experience on. I feel like I have a good foot in the door with going to Toledo. I mean, I have over 100 plus laps on that track from just racing it, on my own with the late model sportsman, but also with the Velocity 200 laps there. So, no, I feel a little bit more comfortable with being able to start off at my home place.
Yeah, for sure. Well, all right. Last thing for you, and you mentioned it too. You think about somebody your age, 21 years old or whatever, in college, and you're thinking, okay, there's got to be a great social media presence somewhere. But you mentioned it, right? You got to turn the wrenches. You got to make sure these cars are going. But you guys do have a social media page. Where can people follow along with what you guys are doing?
So we do have a Facebook page. It'll be Breeze Racing. Literally the simplest thing to look up. If you look at a picture of the side of my car, it says Breeze Racing. But that's where
How does
I
that tie in,
try.
by the way? I don't know. Where does that come from?
So Breeze Racing started from my dad. It was kind of like his little saying of Bree, which they call me Bree in my family. Bree, so I'm in it, and then racing, and then he's like, it's also like the breeze of the wind when you go
There
by.
you go. Hey, I like it. It's creative. All right, go ahead. Sorry. Where can they follow you?
So they can follow me at Breeze Racing on Facebook, and then we are planning to get more of an Instagram page started, and then I also do have a TikTok, but that's pretty much just Gabby underscore 711. Um, I try to post when I can, but like I said, I'm pretty much working all the time on the car or at school. So I try my best to post, and let people see what's happening behind the scenes and see me work along with my dad, things like that. So, Breeze Racing, just look up Breeze Racing and you'll find it super easy.
All right. Well, Gabby Grigsby gonna hopefully get things started here in a couple of weeks at Toledo Speedway. Gonna be thrashing a little bit, which is fine. That's what it takes sometimes to get to the racetrack. Good luck this year. We'll be following along with you, and hopefully we can talk to you after that first CRA win.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy that you guys invited me on the show.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we talk to one of the places that Gabby will go this year. Winchester Speedway General Manager Dan Redmond is coming up next on the Horsepower Happenings podcast.
Mark News is back. Michigan Area Racing Connection News keeps fans in the tri-state area up to date on national headlines, local results, regional news, and so much more. Home of the Horsepower Happenings podcast, 500 Sprintcast, Gridline Social, Job Bank, Fastlane Images, KG Media, and so much more. MarkNews.org is the one stop for any race fan who needs to know what's going on in the Michigan area. Plus, get the Mark News weekly newsletter sent right to your inbox, FREE free. Sign up today and learn more at marknews.org. MarkNews.org, the Michigan Area Racing Connection.
It's the season opener for the Great Lakes Super Sprints presented by Perfit and ARP. North versus South, 2 days, 2 sanctions, Friday and Saturday, April 10th and 11th, I-75 Raceway in Sweetwater, Tennessee. Will one of the North's standouts from the Great Lakes Super Sprints get the job done, or will the USCS Sprint cars be rolling in hot from their Winter Heat Series? Find out on Friday and Saturday, April 10th and 11th at I-75 Raceway in Sweetwater, Tennessee. Can't make the trip? Get your subscription to Great Lakes Sprints.tv today.
KG Media is your home for all things photography, race day social media, and more. Cody Geyer brings more than a decade of experience working with the top brands in short track racing. From individual photos to full race days, social media to PR, KG Media can make your race team, race track, or touring series stand out. For more information, go to marknews.org or visit KG Media on Facebook.
The 4th annual Bob Finley Memorial is Saturday, May 9th at Owasso Speedway, featuring outlaw super late models racing for over $20,000 to win. Plus, each lap leader gets a bonus. Open wheel modifieds, trucks, and mini wedges are also in action. And race fans, it's autograph night. Get a chance to meet and get an autograph from the region's best drivers. Advanced tickets to the 4th annual Bob Finley Memorial are now on sale at OwassoSpeedway.com. The 4th annual Bob Finley Memorial, Saturday, May 9th at Owasso Speedway.
The Horsepower Happenings podcast is Michigan's short track racing authority. For nearly a decade, Horsepower Happenings has given race fans a chance to hear directly from their favorite drivers, local track owners, and promoters. Horsepower Happenings is the only podcast keeping fans engaged with Michigan area racing for 52 weeks a year. Don't miss the Horsepower Happenings podcast live on Facebook every Monday night at 6:30 and available everywhere you enjoy podcasts. Visit horsepowerhappenings.com and follow on Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube.
Welcome back to Horsepower Happenings. It's time for our final guest of the evening, and I've got to know this gentleman with the Vors Compact Touring Series. He is the general manager of the Winchester Speedway. Dan Redmond, welcome into Horsepower Happenings.
Rich, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to be on air tonight with you and Zach. And it looks like you've got your plans all ready to go for after the show's over tonight. So
we've got 45 minutes to get this thing done, Dan.
So talk fast, Dan.
we're rooting for you guys since our Boilermakers aren't in the show. So go Michigan.
Yeah.
Hey,
all right,
Dan, let's go back a couple of years. You kind of you were doing your own thing, running the Vors Compact Touring Series for Steve Vore. And then something in your mind says, I think I'm going to take on Winchester. Kind of talk about that and what your thought process was.
Well, it wasn't nothing that we had ever thought about. We had me and Steve Vore and my wife Linda had came off of doing the Bristol and the last lap, which was very successful. You guys were down there, helped us put on a great show for that in the spring of 2024. And we really had no desire to be racetrack promoters. Steve wanted to lease Bristol to give street stocks and modified and compact drivers one last chance to get to Bristol because things happened so quickly with COVID and everything that changed the world. So that was really the only thought process. We were just doing our own thing. Me and Linda's had businesses. Steve's got a very successful business. This is our 15th year of VCTS racing now. And,
wow.
So, we were trying to get life back to normal and just do our thing. And then, Charlie Shaw, that owns Winchester Speedway, and he's owned Winchester since 1998, actually approached me and Linda and Steve after Labor Day weekend of 2024 and said, hey, I've got to make some changes. Things just aren't good financially or maintenance-wise with the racetrack. And I know you guys just got done doing Bristol, and you guys made it successful. And will you help us get through the Winchester 400? And so it was just supposed to be a 5-week deal to try and get through the Winchester 400. And, and Charlie will be the first one to tell you that he told us point blank that if you guys don't do this, I'm going to cancel the Winchester 400 this year, because he said, we can't keep going the way we're going. And, me and Linda and Steve, we love Winchester Speedway. We love Charlie Shaw. And we said, we'll help get you through the 53rd Winchester 400, and that'll give you time to find a promoter to take on it a full-time job going forward. And so that was the deal, and we made that happen. Linda and Steve and I, we went in there and we talked to all of Charlie's employees, and he's got amazing people. They're all like me and Steve and Linda. Every day we get a day older, but their love and their dedication to that racetrack is just beyond measure. And they just never had the chance to do what they could do and be successful at it. So we went in the 5 weeks we had, said, what can you do? What do you want to do? What do you need from us to do it? And how can we help you? And we turned them loose, and we let them do their thing. And we created some hopefully some different kinds of promotions and some buzz to get it going again for the Winchester 400. And then the good Lord gave us one of the best weather weekends that the Winchester 400 had in years. And so we took something that was on the verge of Charlie saying we're not going to do it this year to, he said, one of the best 3-day weekends they'd ever had. So that's how we got there. I had already cleaned my desk out after the Winchester 400 was over. I had, and cleaned my desk out because it was about life to go on as usual. And we're busy. Everybody's busy in this day and age. And then Charlie came back to us and he said, will you guys stay on? And we said, Charlie, and he said, I love this track with all my heart. And he literally broke down and started crying. He said, I'm almost 90. I'm not planning on going anywhere anytime soon, but I'm also smart enough to know at 90, my days on this earth are numbered. And he said, where this track is financially and where it is maintenance-wise, I know that when I go, if we don't do something quick and dramatic with this racetrack, it's going to die soon after me. And I don't want that to happen. Will you guys please stay on and run this track? And so me and Linda literally lived from our house in farmland to crossing across the start-finish line at Winchester Speedway is 7 minutes. And it was the longest 7-minute car ride of me and Linda's life coming home. We didn't say a single word to each other. And we got in the house, and Linda looked at me and she said, Danny, how can you say no to Charlie? And I'm like, I know. But we've got to talk to Steve about this. Steve's my boss. Me and Linda run VCTS racing for him. And, so we've got to have everybody on the same page. So then we went and had the conversation with Steve, and, Steve said, okay. He said, let's go talk to Charlie. And we went back and talked to Charlie, and Steve said, Charlie, you're right. We don't want this place to die, but with where the financials are and with where the maintenance are, most people that's serious about buying a business, is not going to take a very serious look at Winchester. So if you want us to stay and run it, we will stay on. We will tell you everything that needs to be done, how much it's going to cost, what's the good and the bad that's going to happen with doing that. And then it's your choice, because you're the one that's got to write the check for that. but if you can't do that, that's okay, but we're not your team. And Charlie's like, I'll give you whatever you need. And then the next thing we said is, we don't ever want racing to die. We want to bring out and emphasize more of the history of Winchester Speedway. But nowadays, racing isn't what it was 30 years ago. And we've got to find other ways to pay the bills. And we've got to look at doing more events that are not the traditional racing events to help pay the bills to keep this racetrack here for another 112 years. And Charlie Shaw has been all in, and again with the amazing people that he has as part of his A team that helps us out there. It's been a really fun ride, and we're lucky. We had a great year last year, and honestly, I truly believe in my heart and my gut that this year is going to be even better.
Well, let's back up. That was a lot. So let's unpack some of this now, and let's dive into this, because I want to go back to 2024 Winchester 400 and that first presentation, because there's a lot to promoting a racetrack and an event that more than just handing out flyers and creating ads and doing things of that nature. I mean, somebody's got to be responsible for the financial side of things, and that goes with the 2025 season as well. Like, obviously you've already got Vor's Compact Touring Series, which needs a financial backer. And of course, Steve Vore does a great job supporting you guys. But without getting too much into the weeds, Dan, I mean, that really kind of puts you guys on the spot in a big way, right? To make sure that this event is successful, so that, not everybody's coming out of the 2024 Winchester 400 broke as a joke.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're exactly right, Zach. I mean, and Charlie Shaw will be the first one to tell you, and I'm not giving away any secrets that I don't think he's willing to share, because in the racing world nowadays, it's tough. And Charlie's owned this track since 1998. He's one of only 4 owners in the 112-year history of Winchester Speedway. And he will tell you that I've always needed the Winchester Speedway to help pay the bills for all the other races that we lose money on. And so if you don't have a successful Winchester, the season is a total failure, and you depend on Winchester, just like, Pat and Tim Bryant with the Snowball Derby. People think that they're making money hand over fist, but they don't understand. Most tracks nowadays across the country, wherever you go, have a few key races that they depend on to make money to subsidize all of the races that they lose money on.
Rich?
Yeah, no, and I was there. I've been there. I've been there for both of your Winchester 400s, Dan. And how proud do you feel? Because I don't remember. I mean, the campground's always crowded, right? It's been crowded forever. It's always sold out. But the people that you put in the stands with the other opportunities for them to do things on the property, how good did you feel about 2024 and 2025? Because I think it's been 2 of the best Winchester 400s in years.
Yeah, I mean, it is, and it puts a smile on my face, because I know that we're trying to give Charlie the track that he's always dreamed of and wanted to have, and the people that work there, from Darian out in the campground to Jen in the infield concessions, to Diane in the gift shop, they bleed blood for that racetrack, and they deserve it. And so to have that, and what was truly amazing about the 2024 Winchester 400, and I looked and I searched and I scoured, and I couldn't find anything negative on social media about the 2024 social media. And that's a pretty big deal anymore nowadays, with all the keyboard cowboys out there and everything else, and I think all the fans went home happy that was there. And really, same way with the 2025 Winchester 400. The only pushback that we got, I seen some negative on social media, because to have parking for everybody, because there is such a demand for camping. And we're working on that. We're hard at work trying to come up with some other options. And I think we will buy this fall for the Winchester 400. But we had to rent the farm ground to the west of us, from the Critch family, and they're very good at bringing in their crops early to get us out there. But we had to rent that ground, so we had to charge for parking. So I seen a few comments on social media after the 2025 about, I shouldn't have to pay for parking, and it was $10 to park. Good luck trying to park at Lucas Oil Stadium tonight for that Michigan game for $10.
I've gone to some events and paid 10 times that. I can tell you that right now.
So again, I looked at it when, talking to Steve War about it and talking to Charlie afterwards, because we always debrief. I'm like, they weren't complaining about the racing on the track from all the great divisions that was there. They weren't complaining about the ticket prices. They weren't complaining that the hamburgers were cold or the beer was too expensive. So to me, when they have to go all the way down the list to have a concern about our parking, which again, we're working on for them, that tells me that the staff that we have, which is incredible people, did their job.
When you talk about these, and this is one of the things I want to talk to you about. So other events coming to Winchester Speedway, this is different for Winchester. And I think that there has been, not on Charlie's side, and we don't have to get into the weeds, but I think there's been some ego issues of not wanting to do anything at Winchester Speedway that was not USAC, sprint cars, template late models. Like if it wasn't, high paced around the half mile, they didn't want to do it. And you guys are bucking that trend, and you proved it last year that it can be successful. You had that place packed for a couple of different events that were not traditional circle track events. And I know you said that Charlie supported that, but dive into that a little bit. How did you guys come to that conclusion that this is what Winchester Speedway needs to become more relevant, is to do some different style events?
Yeah, well, just again, Linda and Steve and I talking to other track promoters, and you look at Anderson Speedway, the home of the Little 500, which is the most amazing race in the country, coming up, next month. But if you would have ever told, I think, Rick Dawson or Jared Owen 20 years ago that their second biggest event of the year would be July 4th for their figure eight night of thrills, I think they would have told you that you were crazy. When Scott used to run Toledo for Ron Draggers, Scott told me once, back when I was just Dan, the VCTS guy, he said, we were talking about dates and VCTS going there, and he's like, I just don't have a lot of dates to give because we can't run that many races here. And he said, and his exact words were, if it wasn't for those damn school buses, we wouldn't be running any races here, because he said, we need those school bus races to pay for all the other races that lose money.
Now, I want to ask you this, because this is one thing I think Flat Rock does a really good job at, is they do run those damn school bus races, but they are able to get a circle track show in with it. So how are you utilizing, for instance, your first event of the year is coming up in 2 weeks and it's a demolition derby. How are you trying to get those fans back on circle track dates?
Well, what we did last year, and again, this was my wife Linda's idea and Judy Bigelow's idea, and we brought in for the Monster Truck Show last year, we brought in a class because the Monster Truck Show's 2 weeks before Labor Day weekend. So we brought in at least one different car from each of the classes that was racing Labor Day weekend. We had them in the fan zone, the grassy area behind the grandstands, and Linda made up big signs that says, come watch me race on Labor Day. And then JP Crabtree, being the great guy that he is, he took his late model out during the intermission of the monster truck races, and he got on it, and he did some hot lapping for the fans. And honestly, me and Steve talked 95% of the people that was there for that monster truck show we had never seen at Winchester Speedway before. And the crowd gave JP a heck of a pop when he did hot laps, and you could tell they were generally excited about that. And so then Linda and all the staff, as everybody was leaving the monster truck show on Saturday night and Sunday afternoon, they handed them out a $5 off coupon with a bounce back for Labor Day weekend specifically. Said, come back and watch these guys race on Labor Day weekend. We appreciate you coming tonight. Here's $5 to come back and enjoy the show on Labor Day. And, Linda and Judy was like, wow, we were surprised at how many we got back last year.
You had a good return.
Labor Day weekend.
There was a good return on that.
Yes, very much so. So again, that's the kind of things that we're doing this year. we're incorporating things with the Richmond, Indiana now has a minor league baseball team called the Flying Mummies, and they're coming up for our our demolition derby and our semi truck show. And we're going to be down there. We're going to have racer night June the 16th. So like 10 days before the Tom Bigelow Showdown, we're going to have cars on display and giving out 500 rally towels at the Flying Mummies. So it's all about cross promoting with not only tracks, partner tracks like Anderson and Eldora and Raceway Park and Salem and Angola and Shady Bull, but it's also about, looking out for those other types of fans that maybe we can turn into race fans.
Well, real quick, Dan, I want to say thank you to the Muffler Man in Coldwater. They are sponsoring tonight's interview here on Horsepower Happenings, and they are so much more than just mufflers and exhausts. And as the weather warms up, it doesn't mean that you have to put on the racing slicks out on the streets, okay? Right now, when you purchase 4 tires at the Muffler Man in Coldwater, you'll get a free alignment ensuring that your investment is protected and made to last. The Muffler Man in Coldwater also handles general maintenance like oil changes, tune-ups, and so much more. Find MufflermanColdwater.com or call 517-279-9896 for the Muffler Man in Coldwater, a Hankook and Cooper Tires dealer.
Dan, I've been in racing a long time, almost 40 years now, just in this area. And I have a circle of people that I trust in motorsports, right? That I would go to for anything. You've alluded to somebody throughout this interview, and is there anybody that in this country that loves short track racing more than Steve Orr?
No, I mean, he does so much. Like I said, it's the 15th year of VCTS. He really had no desire to be a series owner, but CRA was going to let their front wheel drive division go because they had just started the JEGS crate late model division. They said, we can't handle 5 divisions. And so he didn't want it to die. And then after we kept it going, then he got the place of like, maybe we can get grassroots drivers to some great bucket list tracks. But, he's a series sponsor for the street stocks at Angola. He's a series sponsor for the street stocks at Anderson. He is the HRA Sportsman Series, which used to be with CRA. And he does so many things for people behind the scenes that he would kick my ass if I said anything about, because that's not Steve. He doesn't like to toot his own horn. It's hard to even get him to step up and talk to our drivers at the awards banquet. And he's always just said, I'm one of the guys. And, and he'll sit there and shoot the breeze with you one-on-one and drink a beer until, you're ready to go to bed. But he's never been a guy that's looking for the limelight. He just loves racers and he loves racing. And that was another reason why, when he started hearing what Charlie was saying, that Winchester Speedway could be in jeopardy, then, he's like, let's do this.
And I remember when we were down there at Bristol, and talking to you, and you said, if it wasn't for Steve Orr, this would have never happened. Bristol would never have happened if it wasn't for Steve.
Yeah, this last time, because and most people don't know this, it was a combination effort with RJ and Glenn and CRA and Steve and myself to get the first VCTS short track national CRA, race going. But it took us 3 years to get our foot in the door at Bristol, because Bristol's like, how many people come to us every year with, we've got a great idea for a race. They said, we can't even count them all. They said, how many we do every year? Well, you see our schedule. And so, they basically said, we're not here to be cocky. We're not here to waste your time. But bottom line is, if we don't see this being successful before we ever open up the gates, we're not interested in doing it. So it took us 3 years with Norm Parton from Nashville helping, and RJ and Glenn and Steve and us to get the deal done. And then the first couple went really, really well. And, Bristol gave us the impression that it was going to happen forever and it was going to be a regular yearly thing. And then COVID happened and we did the COVID race, but the car counts fell way off because people were afraid to travel. And And then the next year went to dirt. And so the short track nationals just stopped happening. And then after Bristol stopped doing dirt, we got a call from Trey Hatcher and Brandon Cross from Bristol and said, are you guys interested in coming back for another short track nationals? And Steve's like, well, yeah, sure. And they're like, well, hang on before you get too excited. We got to tell you that we don't do our own races anymore. So if you guys want to do this, the deal is you have to lease the facility from us. And if we feel like it's somebody that will not embarrass Speedway Motorsports Incorporated, our parent company, or Bristol Motor Speedway, and if you write the big check, then you can come in and you can have an event. And the number that they gave us, and this does not count the purse, any of the purses, was $110,000 plus their help to rent for a Friday, Saturday. Ouch. And this is what Steve Vore said. Steve Vore looked at me and Linda and he said, guys, can we do this without me losing any more than $50,000 or $60,000? That's what Steve Vore said. He said, I want to do this for the drivers. He said, we're going to call it the last lap because we don't know that it's ever going to happen again. But he said there were so many street stocks and modified drivers and, compact drivers that kept thinking that, well, I'm not going to go because of COVID, so there'll be next year. Because that was even the impression Bristol was giving us. There would be next year. And then COVID and then the dirt. And so, Bristol's like, our business model's changed. We just don't do our own events. So if you want it, we'll release it to you guys. But the baseline is $110,000. And Steve said, can we do this without losing any more than $50,000 or $60,000? And me and Linda sat there and crunched numbers and we said, we hope, but we don't know. We've not been in this position before. And again, we had great people in the racing world that stepped up. Rex Wheeler, huge cheerleader for short track grassroots racing, and Brian and Bud from the Midwest Modifieds and Bob Sargent. And we all pulled together and we said, yeah, we're going to make this happen. And, that was the deal with Bristol. But Steve just wanted to give the guys that thought that there was going to be another year, at least one final chance to get back to Bristol. If they were always waiting, I'll go next year. So that's just who Steve Vore is.
I don't know about you, but I know for me and Rich, I think that's the coolest event I've ever worked. I mean, Dan, I know we've done a lot of different races together. We've been to a lot of different places together, but just being at Bristol and at the Coliseum and seeing everybody getting to live a little bit of a dream there, and the drivers, right, and the fans that were able to come, everybody was thriving that weekend, I thought.
And I thought, and what was cool was, I had raced for 25 years, Dan, and then went into announcing, right? So, but from the time I picked up my first microphone in 2014, I would have lost all of the money to say, Rich, you're going to be holding the microphone at Bristol Motor Speedway one day. Really? I'd have told them they were out of their mind.
Oh, I know it was so incredible. I can honestly tell you this, guys, and I'm not lying. I'm not exaggerating. I have never in my life, being a race director for 15 years now, I've never, ever had drivers that I've went and checked on after they've totaled a race car and asked them if they're okay. I've never, ever anywhere else experienced this, but this happened on more than one occasion that I checked on drivers at Bristol that had just trashed their car and they weren't upset. And I'm like, are you okay? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, I'm so sorry. They're like, don't be. We've got a story that we'll tell everybody. We trashed our car at Bristol Motor Speedway. Nobody ever think we could even come to Bristol Motor Speedway. And if I'm ever going to total a car, this is where I want to total my car at. So, I mean, I actually had drivers that, basically was excited that they wrecked their car at Bristol. I mean, that we had one guy that was a compact driver and big guy. And he was so excited when he got out of his car that he stopped by Steve Vore's pit and parked his car, jumped out, and he went over and he started squeezing Steve like a rag doll, picked him up off the ground, bear hugging him, and just saying, thank you. I never thought I would get to do this. and those kind of moments make all of the hard moments so worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we have to wrap this up for reasons that are not draped on our chest or our hats. Let's run through the schedule real quick, and you've talked about a lot of it. We start in 2 weeks at Winchester with the Demolition Derby, which I think is great. And you've got some 500 Sprint Car Tour races, USAC Silver Crown, ASA Stars National Tour, of course, Winchester 400 toward the end of the year. What are some other schedule highlights, Dan, that maybe people don't already have on their calendar?
Well, new for this year, besides the Demolition Derby, May 16th, we got the American Big Rig Semis coming into Winchester.
Oh, wow.
That should be phenomenal. They've raced at Salem and they've raced at Bristol before, so we're excited for Mike Morgan and his drivers and teams to come there. I think that's going to be an epic night. And then the other new thing that we got, everything that we did last year is back this year. Plus, then also on August the 1st, for the first time ever, we've got a Dukes of Hazzard 2-hour live stunt show. So we
talked about this. This is the show that went viral 2 years ago or a year ago when they jumped the what is it? The
fountain down in Kentucky.
Yes.
Yeah.
Show.
So it's going to be awesome. They'll bring the General Lee, Daisy Dukes Jeep, Boss Hogs Cadillac, all kinds of sheriff's cars. And it's just going to be 2 hours worth of chases and blowing things up and jumping things and crashing things. And we even got as a special guest coming. I think they're going to be very careful with it. But the original kit from Knight Rider car is also going to be at Winchester that night on August the 1st. So
all the 80s babies just lit up. Oh, that is so cool. Dan, where can folks, are you doing advanced ticketing at all, or is it all at the gate?
Nope. We started working with My Race Pass last year and everything, and they're amazing to work with. So Winchester fans can either go to winchester-speedway.com with a dash in there, winchester-speedway.com, or myracepass.com and get your tickets for Winchester Speedway. And we got those extra family fun events this year, and my goal is, we'd like to create some more races, maybe add on some stuff in 2027. That's why we brought in the Great Lakes Truck Tour this year. Last year, the Mid-Am Series was there for the first time and put on an amazing show. So we're trying to get some more traction with some other series, get some fans to recognize the talent that they have so that maybe we can put them on a standalone show for 2027. So we just got to be smart about how we do things and walk before we can run.
And I want to tell you that Jeremy Hargis, I think that's how you say his name, or Hargis, is in the chat saying that Dan is the man. So you've got some great support, Dan. And I do, Rich and I talked about this before too. I know you're very humble, but we could see it, right? Winchester was going to be in a tough spot if you and your team didn't step in. So we're glad to see it. And congratulations on a great turnaround that you've given Winchester Speedway. And we're excited to see it keep going.
Well, thank you, Rich and Zach. Thank you for everything you guys do for grassroots racing. And, all the experts down here are saying it's going to be a Michigan show tonight. So Channel 13, even one of the guys was saying about a 14-point spread and everything. So I hope they're right. And if they are, then I'm sure you guys are going to be a little tired tomorrow if I try to get a hold of you. So I won't bother you tomorrow so you can recoup.
The Huskies got a good track record in the final, so it's going to be a good game. That's for sure. Dan Redmond, the general manager of Winchester Speedway. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we put a bow on this one. You're listening to the Horsepower Happenings podcast.
The Horsepower Happenings podcast is Michigan's short track racing authority. For nearly a decade, Horsepower Happenings has given race fans a chance to hear directly from their favorite drivers, local track owners, and promoters. Horsepower Happenings is the only podcast keeping fans engaged with Michigan area racing for 52 weeks a year. Don't miss the Horsepower Happenings podcast live on Facebook every Monday night at 6:30 and available everywhere you enjoy podcasts. Visit horsepowerhappenings.com and follow on Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube.
It's the season opener for the Great Lakes Super Sprints presented by Perfit and ARP. North versus South, 2 days, 2 sanctions, Friday and Saturday, April 10th and 11th, I-75 Raceway in Sweetwater, Tennessee. Will one of the North's standouts from the Great Lakes Super Sprints get the job done, or will the USCS Sprint cars be rolling in hot from their Winter Heat Series? Find out on Friday and Saturday, April 10th and 11th at I-75 Raceway in Sweetwater, Tennessee. Can't make the trip? Get your subscription to Great Lakes Sprints.tv today.
Think your camper handled the winter just fine? Think again. Every time the temperature fluctuates, drop moisture freezes and expands, turning tiny hairline cracks into major pathways for water. That freeze-thaw cycle is a silent killer for RV seals. If you haven't had a professional roof and exterior sealant inspection this spring, you're likely towing a leak you can't see yet. Midwest Camper Repair specializes in catching that winter damage before it reaches your interior. We're mobile and we check it all from the roof to the floor. Don't let a winter crack ruin your summer fun. Call Midwest Camper Repair today and start the season sealed tight. Call 419-799-1171. That's 419-799-1171. Or visit MidwestCamperRepair.com. Serving the tri-state area from the roof to the floor, Midwest Camper Repair has you covered.
Welcome back to the Horsepower Happenings podcast. And one news item that we didn't touch tonight because we don't know anything about it. And so if you're wondering, well, what's going on? We don't know. So an announcement came out, Rich, right before we went on the air tonight that Thunderbird Raceway had announced that they will be officially closed for the 2026 season. That announcement was on social media for all of about 10 minutes, and then that social media page has since disappeared as of the time of this program starting, and obviously we've been on the show, so we haven't been able to see what's going on social media, but Thunderbird Raceway's life is very much in the balance for 2026, and as of right now, we knew for sure as a couple of weeks ago that at a minimum the season was suspended. Now it sounds like it might be over for 2026, Rich. I mean, we just don't know anything.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't surprise me today because we had the writing on the wall a little bit a couple of weeks ago, but and it's a sad deal, but we can still hang on, right, Zach? Things can change. All they're saying is until further notice, don't plan on going to Thunderbird Raceway, right? And that's all we know. We don't know anything more than that. Maybe we'll hear some things come out here in the next couple of weeks. It can't just stay silent, right? So somebody's going to have to say something.
And the toughest thing about it, and again, this is just what we've pieced together. We've reached out for comment, and that request has been denied. But from what we understand, there's a lot of things that are stalled out because of litigation, and nothing is going to happen until that litigation period is over. So really, it really just is a bunch of question marks right now, and we're taking whatever we can get from social media. And like I said, for about 10 minutes today on social media, the racetrack was closed for 2026. So until we hear otherwise, that's what we're going to believe.
And I would hate to tell you or I would never tell anybody this about a racetrack, but unfortunately, start looking now for another racetrack if you're in that area to spend your money at and patronize, whether you're a fan or a racer. That's all you can do at this point. We got 2026 right upon us.
Yeah. And if you're I-96, if you're Winston, if you're Crystal, you're kind of right along that corridor. If you're a compact guy who can maybe make something work to go to Berlin, those are your options, right? Don't park the race car because because the racetrack, try to make it to another area racetrack that has one of your divisions, and we'll hope for the best, right? I mean, this is what is this, Rich? The 4th time this track has turned over since 2019. So
yeah, and we've had other tracks closed down, and they're never totally gone, right? We see them start coming back. So maybe this is just a temporary thing. Maybe it's one season. Maybe it's less than a season. We'll have to wait and see. But if we can go by in the past, I don't know that we've seen the last of Thunderbird Raceway. I surely hope not.
I hope not as well. All right, let's take a look at that upcoming calendar of events, Rich. Attica Raceway Park, their season opener is now the All-Star Circuit of Champions season opener. The entire month of March, they tried, and again, I still don't understand why people get on social media and are bent out of shape that Attica Raceway Park tried to race, because I bet your bottom dollar if it had been 62 degrees and sunny on one of those Fridays and they'd have opened the gates, you'd have been there and you'd have been happy about it. But regardless, April 10th and 11th, All-Star Circuit of Champions will now open Attica Raceway Park.
I am a lot more optimistic about this weekend, Zach. I saw 60-some degrees on Saturday, in the 70s on Sunday. I don't know what reason could take them down this weekend. I mean, you really can't beat that. But boy, the temperatures just jumped right up as soon as that All-Star Circuit of Champions date showed up.
Yeah, I'm sure the boys with the All-Stars are not disappointed about the crowd that they're going to see this Friday and Saturday night. Want to wish good luck to our friend Ryan Sutter, friend of the program, the Milkman down at Montpelier Speedway. They open their season on Saturday, Rich. The Northern Late Model All-Stars will be in action for what we were told about a month ago is the richest purse in Montpelier Speedway history, $7,500 to win for the Northern Late Model All-Stars this Saturday night.
And we're starting to creep up a little closer to the border, right? The Michigan border. Just week by week, we get a little bit closer, Zach. You guys with GLSS based here in Michigan, but you're going to head several hours south. Not that you're going to have a show near Michigan.
I don't even want to talk about what time I got to get up on Friday morning. Okay.
But you guys are going to kick your season off.
Yes. Friday and Saturday, non-points weekend in a co-sanctioned event with USCS, but a lot of guys, I understand we're going to be probably around a dozen GLSS guys are going to knock the rust off, maybe take an opportunity to see what these American Racer tires are made of. Again, we are in a burn-off period, but a lot of guys are interested in just taking this opportunity to see what the ARs have in them. But nonetheless, Friday and Saturday, I-75 Raceway in a co-sanctioned event with USCS. It's a great facility, really cool racetrack. And if you can't make the trip, you can check out GreatLakesSprints.tv and get your annual subscription. If you use the code GLSSFan20, you can take 20% off an annual subscription at GreatLakesSprints.tv. That's GLSSFan20, and take 20% off that annual subscription. And then you can hear the lovely soothing tones of yours truly on Friday and Saturday night.
Yep. And then we can tease this. We'll talk more about it next week, obviously.
Yep.
But then we get right to the border on April 18th at Toledo Speedway. The debut of the Turn 1 CRA Pro Series for 2026. Should be a great car count, plus 350 modifieds. Open wheel modifieds are going to be there. And then Sportsman and Factory Stocks, the Toledo's track divisions, they'll be running that day as well. Tickets are available now, Zach, at ToledoSpeedway.com for Saturday, April 18th.
Yep, and we'll talk more about the racing going on that weekend next week. So I want to say thank you to Gabby Grigsby for being on the program tonight. Of course, also want to say thank you to Dan Redmond with Winchester Speedway for being on. Thank you to Noah Long, you're our producer. For Rich France, I'm Zach Heiser, and we'll talk to you same time, same place next week, right here on Horsepower Happenings. Go Blue!
You've been listening to Horsepower Happenings. The views and opinions expressed in tonight's show may not directly reflect that of Horsepower Happenings. The contents of this program may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or disseminated without the express written consent of Horsepower Happenings. Follow Horsepower Happenings on Facebook, Instagram, X, and all major podcast platforms, including Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, and Pandora, to keep up on what's happening.